Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Brendan. And in this video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a contact form like this that you might have on your website. In this case, I'm using WS Form. You could use any web form that supports webhooks. And what we're going to do is hook up this simple contact form for getting customer feedback. And we're going to send it via webhook to n8n, and it's going to get received here, and then it's going to do a sentiment analysis. And what this whole workflow is basically doing is trying to break up the monotony of replying to a high volume of requests or feedback forms. Like if you send out a mailer and you get a ton of messages back, how do you process all those? How do you organize them? How do you even draft a response to them potentially with AI? And so in this one, we're basically sending that comment from whoever our customer is, whoever fills out the form, and it then goes into this sentiment analysis and it determines whether it's positive feedback or negative feedback. If it's positive feedback, it's going to get routed up this route, and then it's going to send to another AI agent, and the AI agent will basically write a response. We can open it real quick, and you just please craft a response for my company that makes plugins and themes about and this is the following feedback is positive, and so we're passing the comment into the AI agent. We're passing the name of the person, and then that can give us a result that then is spit out into Google Sheets, and it even drafts us an email to the person that filled out the form with our response ready to go. So it's ready to be reviewed by a human, and you can save some time by having it auto draft your responses. And I'll just mention, like, just as a quick caveat at first, like, don't just completely automate your support systems for your company. Humans do want to usually talk with other humans to get their issues resolved and to feel like they're being heard. So this is not a replacement for that type of work. It's more of an extension of a support agent who is, really busy getting slammed with a lot of different inquiries and able to parse that and get some relevant info. So what that actually looks like, because we're collecting more than just like the content of the person's message, but we're also going to be able to send it. And let's just take a look. Let's just make a quick example. So I have the form here, and I'm going to just use WS Form to populate that. And instead of our comments being this lorem ipsum, I'm going to replace that and say, your plugins kind of suck. It happens. You're going to get clients like that. And what we'll do, and we'll submit this. Thank you for your submission. And now what's happening is it's going through this flow and it's saying, okay, is this a positive or negative comment? Well, it's probably negative. So it's going to get passed down through this. It's going to get an analysis and a response created, and it's going to be spit out in all those fields into Google Sheets. And then we're going to draft an email. So let me just go up to my Google Sheets, and we can see here, there's Isaiah Westfall. There's the feedback here is your plugin suck. The sentiment that's determined is negative. That's correct. And it's saying what is your product that they're talking about. Well, they're talking about our plugins. And then we can see the response that's been drafted. So I can just open this up real quick. Dear Isaiah, thank you for taking the time to share your feedback with us. I'm genuinely sorry to hear about your experience with our plugins. It's been unsatisfactory. Your comments are blah, blah, blah. So in the meantime, please accept a 10% discount on your next purchase that you can use the code We're Sorry at checkout. And so then it signed it from me, right? And then if I go to my Gmail here and I refresh, I can see there's my draft. I can click this and I can see it's already drafted to that email. It's created an email subject, and it's put the person's name in, and it's signed it from me along with all that content that we just saw. So it's basically able to write that analysis and get everything drafted. So it's just a matter of putting data in from one place to the next. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. And I'll just get started. So stick around. All right. So I'm just going to build the whole thing from scratch, honestly, and probably just work out some of the kinks as I go. I've done this before or whatever, but it kind of changes every time you set it up. And, you can do things a lot of different ways in n8n. So it's not like the one way to do it, but, we're going to use a sentiment analysis, a webhook, some routing, and some structured JSON outputs, and Google Sheet and Google Email email nodes, and we should be able to get this flow going pretty quickly. So let's just jump right into it. I've got a blank canvas here, and let's start first with our webhook. All right, so we need to, initiate this whole workflow by getting, setting up this webhook, right? So we need to change it to first a post request because that's how the webhook gets triggered. And we right now we're going to leave it on test URL. And so I will copy this and I'll just click test, do a test um, call so that we can go test our WS form. So let's go back to WordPress here. And let me just close some of these out. So here's my the same form, and you can create a new form, fill out whatever fields you need to collect from people. And in WS form, there's an actions tab. I can just come up here and I will just come and delete this one that we've already made, right? So I'll just make a new one and we'll call this n8n demo. And the action that we want the form, like, so when someone fills it out, we want them to do an action. So we'll do action of webhook, right? And then I can just paste my endpoint in there, right? So we have our webhook with our unique ID, and it has the word test here, and that's how you know it's a test webhook. And then what we want to do is basically map these form fields into the output of that webhook. So I can just come and hit my form fields, and we want to get the first name and do first name. And I should do camel case. I try to get in the habit of doing camel case. Last name, and then our email. And we're going to send the comments, and we'll call this, I don't know, feedback, I guess. And so then that means the webhook will have all those values mapped. And so let's save that and publish that. And then I'll go ahead and preview this. And just to be crystal clear, I'm going to come back to n8n, to this one, my new one, and it is still listening. So it says it's listening for a test event. All I need to do is fill out the form, and so let's populate this, and again we'll grab my amazing feedback here of your plugin sucks. So we'll submit that, and it says thank you for your submission. So now if I come back to our we should see, I don't see anything here. So let's listen for test event again and come back and refresh, populate, submit. All right, great. So we don't really need to pass any real data in. I'm just going to use the fake data because it messed up, but that's perfect. That's what we should see. The webhook was successful because now we have an output side, right? So this is all the output from that webhook. And we can see the headers, and we can see some stuff on the, what site it is, what the IP is, all that stuff. But here's the body, right? So we get all those fields. We get first name, we get last name, we get email, and we get feedback. So that's perfect. We can then use that later on in our flow. So what I'll do is just hit P or come up here and do pin, right? So you can pin the data there. That means I don't have to try it out until we're ready to go live with the webhook. And we'll do that a little bit later. So from here, we're going to send this to a sentiment analysis, right? So you can type in like AI agent. You can do this with an AI agent. You just need to, give it in system instructions and whatnot. But actually, n8n has all these different, if I click on advanced AI, they have all these different AI tools, right? You got basic LLM, you've got an open AI node directly, you've got the AI agent where you can connect tools, super useful stuff, information extractor from a structured format, lots of different ways to use AI. Can't see it because my head's blocking it, so I'll just pause it. And we're back. And so what we're going to do is click this sentiment analysis here. And sentiment analysis will allow us to get in things, basically, you pass in text to be analyzed, and you say, what do you want it to be routed as, right? So right by default, it has positive, neutral, and negative for this type of sentiment. So if we open this, I'm not seeing sentiment categories there. So you need to enable that. And I'm just going to get rid of neutral and just keep it positive and negative. And that'll use the routing right there. So now we just have those two things to route. Okay. So what we basically need to do is first attach a model. I'm going to use OpenRouter. Did a video about that earlier this week. OpenRouter is a fantastic little tool. because you get access to all these different models. There's OpenAI. You could type for all the Claude ones, but you can type in free. And all these models are completely free to use. So there's some Quen ones, there's Llama, Mistral, Meta. I'm going to use Google Gemini 2.0 Flash. Why not? It doesn't matter a ton for this type of stuff, but if you're doing it in high volume, I mean, you might as well just use the free ones, right? So that's all we need to do there. And then it should be able to determine whether it's positive or negative, right? Except that it's in Latin. So uh, on that note, I will just copy another. I don't know. I guess I'll just populate this again. So we'll just do populate, and then your plugins kind of suck. I need to unpin this. This is why it's important to test in the proper order. So, oops. Right. So, okay. So first of all, let's just pass in the feedback field into the sentiment analysis because I got to do that or else it's going to keep erroring. So we'll pass that in. That's going to be whatever our feedback from the form field is, and that'll get rid of this error down here. So I'll just go ahead and test this workflow. Again, it's going to do a call to that URL, and then we just need to submit this. So we'll submit, and it was successful. It's already worked, you can see, because it's passed in your plugins kind of suck, and it's automatically routed. You can kind of see that green line there. That means it's routed to the negative form. So it is working. Just got to make sure you get your webhooks set up first. Right. So now what do we need to do? We need to do something with this data. So we have our sentiment analysis. Let's go and build an AI agent to respond to it. All right, so zoom in a little bit here. And on our, we're just going to make 2 AI agents. All right, so I'll just type in AI agents. And I'm going to attach a chat model. We're just going to do the same thing. Actually, I think I can just do duplicate. And yeah, that should be good. So do the same for the positive one, right? Chat model. And let's get this a little better organized. All right, so this is gonna be our positive model and our negative model. Start with negative because we already have a field. So we that out first, and then we'll do the positive one. So the negative one, we're gonna define below because otherwise we're not using a chat trigger on this. We're using a webhook. So we need to do define below and the user prompt. So this is where you get to have fun with it. You get to learn how to prompt stuff. You can decide what you want to write for your negative review, what you want to offer people. I'm going to type it, I'm just going to paste this in here, right here, and I'll open this a little bigger. So my prompt to the AI model is to please craft a response on behalf of my company that makes plugins about the following negative feedback and make it sound natural, appreciative, personalized, and that they feel listened to, and offer them a coupon of "We're sorry" for 10% off or 10% off future purchases. I don't know if they want to buy that. I'm just trying to show you a little fun way to include something, and then sign it from regards Brendan. You could have this be your customer support agent. You could have this be a dynamic value. In fact, right now we're not passing in any dynamic values until we do. We need to pass in what the stuff is, right? So we have our person, right? And what other fields? We have the feedback, right? We're going to pass in the feedback. And yeah, that's probably all we're passing in, right? Because let's go, we can collapse these. So our sentiment analysis, it does have these options in here. You can grab these here. I'm just going to go to the webhook node because that's the first node and it's never going to change. And so I'll just grab these, paste them in. So that times it pastes in the wrong place. But so then Axel, right? We're putting that in, and again, we're going to get it from the webhook. Its name. Feedback is the right here. Okay, so we've passed in the person saying it and their feedback. Okay. So that's perfect. That's what we want. Let's go ahead and hit test step. It's always a good idea to just kind of run and test your stuff as you go and see what the output is. So now we can click it and we'll see a couple things here. We see our output here, subject, regarding your recent feedback. Hi, Axel. Thanks so much for taking the time to share your feedback. I appreciate you being direct and honest with us, blah, blah, blah. And it has my regards at the end there. Now, the only problem with this, maybe that works for you, but in my original example, I want to be able to have a unique subject line. I want to parse out the feedback itself, and I want to have a list of the like the product that they're even talking about, right? So the way to get that is, and normally, you're chatting with it. That's the output. It's just one big long string of text, all right? But what we can do is open our AI agent, and we can click this button here where it says require specific output format. And what this will do is it says you need a connected output parser, and this will specify the type of output. So let's open that. And there's my structured output parser, and I'll attach that here. And right now you can see it's just added another little node here to the AI agent where it says output parser. All right. So there's our output parser. This is just an example here. But let's just go ahead and delete what's there. You can replace it if you're not good at writing JSON. I make mistakes all the time. Luckily, they tell you usually when you're making a mistake, which is good. So you need to make sure everything has quotes. All right. So quote, quote. And we'll put in what kind of values do we want to get? We want to get the subject. We want to have a unique subject line, right? And we can define what that would be. It would be the email subject, right? And then after that, we're going to put in another thing for the like the email body, right? We want the email body to be the body text of the email. Okay. And again, we'll put a comma to separate that here. And what else do we want? We wanted to see, like, what are they even talking about? Are they talking about one of our themes, one of our plugins? Are they commenting on our support staff? You can actually define what those items might be and how the output parser is going to handle that. So we could say, like, what product are they mentioning in their feedback? Let's say they're getting a bunch of people talking about our themes, but no one's really complaining about our plugins. Well, that gives you a little bit of an indication. So this would be like theme, plugin, or customer support. Those are like our three products that we have. So after I add this output parser, I can run this AI agent again, and we'll see what it does. And now, if I open up the output, we now have a different structure here. We have output, whereas before it was just a big long thing of text, right? Now we have an email subject, we have the email body, and we have what product they're even complaining about or commenting that they like. Essentially that's the structure. That's the flow right there to get a structured output parse from your AI agent. Right. So after that happens, what do we want to do? We can pass this data and we can pass it into Google Sheets. That's what I'm going to use for my database. You can use whatever you'd like. So we're going to append a row sheet. Then you just need to go through and make sure you're connected into your Google account. I'll type in this automation demo sheet and then another spreadsheet within that. I just have a WS form customer feedback one, just an example. Have this, multiple per client or however you want to handle it. But basically, if I come back to my automation demo, let's just delete some of these so we're working with a fresh slate. But I have rows for the name, the email, first and last name, the email, the feedback that they fill out on the form, what the sentiment is that was returned from the sentiment analysis AI, and what product they're talking about, because we want to talk and take a list of what product we're getting. And then we're going to log the response that we are writing in our Gmail as a draft. And then there's the email subject. So let's just map these fields. So again, for first name, last name, I'm going to collapse these and go back to the webhook. So I just get always the freshest data. It's not anything, it's not going through any AI processing here. That's just always going to be the start of the flow there. And we'll do the same thing with email, right? So I'm just dragging these and mapping these up with this column here. Okay. and then we're going to get our feedback. So the feedback is right here. And then our sentiment, the sentiment can't be in the webhook because it hasn't been analyzed yet. So we can open up this sentiment analysis tab, and then we can see here what the body is. Again, it's the person's contact info, all that's the same. And then we have our category of sentiment. So that's going to be negative. And then for the product came from the node right before. So this is like the first node, second node. Here's the third node. And I can open up this, and you can see they're talking about our plugins and themes. Great. So we'll drag that into the products. We'll put the response that the AI came up with as for the email body, and we'll put that into a response tab. And then again, our subject. Okay. And then you come up here and test step, and it's going to map all those fields. There's all the fields that have been mapped into our spreadsheet. We can go back here and verify that. Perfect. Have our first entry in our spreadsheet. Okay. So that's working perfectly, all as intended. Now, the last step here, let's just do a quick draft of an email, right? So we'll do Gmail node, and I'm just go all the way to the bottom here and do create a draft. Now, again, I would recommend not having it just send out non-draft, like fully published emails. Wouldn't recommend doing that without a lot of careful attention. So in this one, we're just going to do draft, and let me make sure I have my right account, a demo account here. And right here, we can see we already have a space to drag in our subject line. So here's our subject. Okay, the email type is that. You can change it to HTML if you want. But we'll drag our response into the email body or the message. And then I can go down here to other options. There's other options here. I can do the to email, right? So we want to say what email do we want to send this to? Well, it's the person that filled out the form. Now, again, you could use the Google Sheet here. There's no reason you really couldn't, because it's already been put into your Google Sheet and that's been verified. But then, you could drag it like that. I just tend to close all these and go back to the original one in case there's any kind of malformation during the other automation steps. Right, so that is looking good. I'll go ahead and hit test step. And you don't get anything back beyond this draft word, and you get the email ID and the thread ID or whatever. But now if I come back to my Gmail and I will refresh, and there is the next draft, right? So here, that was the one we made earlier, or this one. There's the one to Axel, talking about the feedback. It's offering the coupon code. So that's ready to go. It's almost ready to, be reviewed by a human, and click that send button. Okay. So now that is basically done. That is the flow. That's the branch of the negative tool, negative assessment, like sentiment analysis. So that's working. And you can almost just, I might even just try this. I'm going to delete our positive ones, and I think I can just drag this to Control D to copy, to duplicate. Absolutely. Love that. Love doing that. Okay. So let's let's just make a little more space for those guys here. And we'll drag this up. And again, we have the same open router free model that we're using. We have the same structured output parser. You could change this if there's other fields that you want to collect. But basically, all we're going to need to do now is change this AI agent and change this text in here, because this one is the one we copied over, but this is for the negative text. We don't want that. What we want is some positive, whatever we're going to say for the positive. So like in this example, I did, again, it's very similar. Please craft a response on behalf of my company that makes plugins and themes about the following positive feedback. Make it sound natural, appreciative, and personalized. Also, invite them to leave a Google review by directing them to this link. And that's just a random Google business listing I found, and sign it from Brendan. Right. So what we need to do now is, let's save that. Okay. And we're going to need to test it again. So test, and then I'm going to go back to our review form on our WordPress site. Okay. Refresh this, and then I'll populate this. And now I need to put in a positive comment. All right. So your themes are a total lifesaver. My websites are better and client happiness is through the roof thanks to your team. Fantastic. Very nice response. Again, I'm going to just double check this. Yeah, this is waiting for a trigger event. So we'll come back to here and we'll submit. And now it's been posted. It's already running through the flow. You can see it. Great. You can see it's determined. It is positive. The positive, including all this other stuff. And it's run through the whole flow. We didn't need to change anything here. Have our stuff loaded in here into our spreadsheet. So let's open up our spreadsheet. See our first name, last name. We can see our email. See the feedback that we got. What is the sentiment that was, it was a positive sentiment. And we're talking about themes here. So it's identified the product of theme. And there's the subject. Put the subject in here. Huh. Yeah. Well, I guess that that's crazy. It's created a it's created a subject and it's created a subject here, which is interesting. So I mean, you could say something like only include a single subject. Give it a little more instruction. We'll hit test step, and that's better because now we have our single subject line. We have our email body that doesn't have a second subject, right? So we can just go ahead and press this, have this go all the way through again. Come back to our automation demo. It's going to be the same person, right? But now it has put in just the email body, just like how we asked. That's just part of the reason why AI is not entirely reliable yet. The other thing you could have done maybe is come to like the open router and put in sampling temperature. You could put this really low so it's not random. You put this like on 2 or something like that. Lowering it means less randomness, right? So that kind of stuff can be tweaked here and there. All right, but that's basically the setup there. We have our drafted emails, we have our enriched spreadsheets with what products they're talking about, with the feedback itself, with the subject line, with the person's email, with the first and last. And the beauty of it, you could actually use this as like a tool for your own AI. So if you've written a lot of good responses already and you can get those mapped in, you can actually have the one of the tools for each of the AI agents read that column of the spreadsheet and potentially use the writing style of the person who will be responding. That's basically it. The last thing I want to do though, now this is not a live workflow. Let's go ahead and save this, and then let's go ahead and hit active. Now it says you can now make calls to the production URL for the webhook. Okay. So now we need to we need to open up our webhook here. And right here it says test URL. What we need to do is click production URL. All the differences is this little webhook has a dash test. So you can copy that over. I'm just going to go back to edit my form in a WordPress site. Click on the actions, click on the form action for the webhook, hit edit, and then I can go over here and just go ahead and delete this word test and save that. And now that this is active, I don't need to hit test webhook anymore. I can just come to front end, up this in the front end, and we have our customer feedback form, right? We'd love to hear your feedback, whether it's good or bad. Tell us. Populate this form. This is just, again, it's just a way to speed it up so I don't have to type because I suck at typing. But our comments are going to be, my website is broken and my logo is small. Your theme is trash. Okay, so we'll submit that. And then when we come back to n8n, you won't see it now because this is the editing one. But if I click executions, we can see this is running, right? Because it's the webhook's been triggered. It has received it. It's already done. It's done in 8 seconds. It has correctly routed it down the negative tree and put it through the AI agent where it has written everything that I need. If I go back to my spreadsheet, my website's broken, my logo is small, your theme is trash. right? They're talking about our theme. It's a negative sentiment, of course. There's Dear Silas. Thank you for reaching out. I understand, sorry that our theme isn't meeting your expectations. There's some context, right? We appreciate you bringing these specific questions. Knowing could you provide us with some more issues about what you're encountering? Knowing the specifics will help us investigate it for tailored solutions. We value your business and want to ensure that you have a positive experience with our products. Please accept the following coupon code of We're Sorry for 10% off any future purchase, right? So it's working. We don't need to do much else. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. Let's go ahead and populate this, and I'll put in the comment as a positive one, just the one from before. Your themes are a total lifesaver. Let's just type it in. I love your themes. They make me happy and rich. Okay, try that. So we'll submit that. Thank you for your submission. Come back here. This should already start running in the next couple of seconds. Webhook is triggered. It's already done. It's already done. It's run up the positive tree, right? So it's been correctly routed, run through the AI agent, and that's it. I mean, what else? What else is there, right? That's it. There's our other response. I love your themes. They make me happy and rich. Positive. Hi, Wesley. Thank you. We're glad to contribute to your success. And there's a Google review. So give us a Google review. Come back to our let's refresh. What else we got in our drafts? There's Silas, who's got the negative experience, so we gave him the discount code. And here's the person, Wesley, who was really happy, so we asked them to do a Google review, right? So that's basically the gist of it. I mean, I think you probably get the point by now. Yeah, it's a great way to put yourself out of every single situation and looking at every step of the flow. Perhaps you can come in at the end when some of the heavy lifting's been done and come in like a superhero and say, "Oh, okay, hit send, 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 send." All of a sudden, those are coming out, and you are racking up those happy customers, because that's what the point of all this is, right? So anyway, if you made it this far, I appreciate you watching and paying attention. Hopefully you learned something. If you enjoyed this, if you learned something new, go ahead. You know what to do. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber. Stay in the loop. Hopefully doing more of this kind of content. I love the idea of automating stuff so we're not making as many mistakes, not having to have as many touch points with every single thing that we do. Time is limited. We all work really hard. So work smarter and not just harder. That's it for this video. Appreciate you. See you in the next one.